Question. Are you looking at the crazy housing market right now? And depending on where you are, you're thinking about selling, thinking about buying, um, you have life events that you may need to rent a property out. Well, you've landed in the right place because this channel here is all things real estate. And what we're going to discuss today is not anything that we haven't discussed all year, that we don't always discuss, is this housing market and what's going on in the economy. And but big thing for today, I think I have some information for real estate professionals and those of you who are looking to do some real estate transactions, buying and selling. And to start with that, um, I'm Marcellus Kendall. I'm your host. I'm the real estate with Kendall in the DMV. I want you to share this if you're watching and you know some folks that are on edge about real estate right now. And it's highly understandable why some people are on edge. But what I need people to do, remember, when we went to school for 12, 13 years, whatever the numbers that you went to from elementary school all the way up to high school to college or whatever, you learned something during that time. You may have not paid a whole lot of attention to it, but you learned something. You did research, you turned in papers, you did those things. And hopefully when you did them and you also reported them to your class, you learned something, your class learned something, your teacher have even learned something. And these are the things that we have to do when we're thinking about what's going on in the world. Did you research? Instead of you just saying the market is terrible and I can't sell my house and the interest rate is too high, did you do your research? And most of you, if you're going to say no. And why? One thing is we've gotten lazy. And we don't even have to be as lazy as we are because we like TV. So what's wrong with going to YouTube and for Google and putting in, what's going in the housing market today, so you can find, the information. And obviously, it's not you. That's I'm hoping to catch somebody that comes scrolls past maybe once in a blue moon and give them this understanding. Because if you're watching and you're always watching and you're always getting information, especially from YouTube and other areas, that's why you come back and that's why you have subscribed. But really, really, we need to think about this. Now, let's talk to some of you buyers that are out there. Right now, there's buyers out there, and unfortunately, the high interest rates have kind of priced you out the market. Really, they probably really did price you out the market. But let's throw something out there. One of the things that Laura, every time we get on, her and I get on, we talk about is now is a good time to buy. And what people don't understand, actually, not right now, is a very good time to buy. And what's happening in the housing market is when we're in the real estate market shifts all the time anyway. But what's happening right now is things are tightening up. And if you remember, in 2020, things got crazy because all of a sudden everybody's at home. Then everybody realized that buying a house made a lot of sense. And so what ended up happening is that's what folks started to do. And they got into the housing market You guys have to excuse me. I don't know what's going on in my background right now, but we're gonna stay on course. Yeah. So the housing market, we've been having a shortage of inventory since 2009, maybe longer. And when the pandemic hit, and you got all these buyers came in and flooded the market, $200,000 home was selling for 30, 40,000. But we always have to remember, whenever supply is low and the demand is high, it drives up price point. And anytime the consumers create that, I mean, if you got sneakerheads out there, at one time, they were only, what was Nike was only had an app that's the only place you could really buy a lot of the Nikes, and they had you had to be on the app and you had to click the thing at a certain time just to even get a piece of that, a shot at one of the tennis shoes or a certain amount of them. And then in the stores, they were dropping 10 or 20. I don't know what the number is because I'm not really a sneakerhead, but then they had a line full of people out there. And a lot of those people weren't even buying the sneakers for themselves. They were buying them to go back and resell them on the market. So they were in line paying $250 for a pair of shoes, and somebody else might even give them, when they walk out of the store, $500 for the same shoe. They walked in, they stood in line, and they come outside and and that's what's been going on in the world for a good while right now. All this stuff is inflating and going up. And so with the demand on that, with the inventory being low, the house prices were spiking up. But guess what? People don't normally think about this. I've been saying this for almost 8 of the 12 years that I've been a licensed real estate agent. Why are you not a landlord? Why are you not a landlord? And I say that because even right now, you are trying to become a landlord, but you're having problems with that. There's a way for you to get in the game. Now, I want you to just think about this for a second. Let's just say whatever your buying power is, it's been very, very hard for you to find something. And you know that 9 times out of 10, it probably costs you another $200,000 to really get into the home that you are really interested in. But let's talk about something that could get you in the game. Could you not go and find a decent neighborhood and work towards finding a deal on a home that you not live in, but you invest in, that if you buy it right, it needs a little bit of repair, you could then buy that property, put a few $1,000s in it, maybe pay less than whatever your buying power is, of course. But what if, let's just use these numbers. What if we're going to use some Baltimore numbers? What if we find a house in Baltimore? The value of the homes in that area are about 200 and let's say 260,000. And we went out and we found you a home that wasn't fully updated for today, but was decent, needed to be cleaned up, needed some paint, and could get through FHA financing, or if you could switch to conventional. And let's say you bought this house for only about 145,000, and we were able to negotiate, maybe getting some seller concession or some other things, because maybe this house was passed down, somebody passed away, and the folks really just the loved one took care of the house to their liking, but they didn't do any updates and etc. Well, what if you can buy that house for 145,000, let's use the numbers, and then turn around and ask the seller for $5,000, and $5,000 is used to help you with your closing costs, right? So now we've gotten you into a deal that's less than what you would have put out to buy your own home. And we also got you some money back because of the type of deal that we are actually able to put together. Now, with that deal, you now purchased the house for $145,000. Let's say this is still a 3.5%. What is that? Another $5,000 you've invested to get into a property, and that other 5,000 may have taken care of the rest of the closing costs. So now you're in this property. Now, what other money you're going to use to get the home for you to live in, you will go in and do bring this new home up to speed, and you get it ready to get lead inspection, and you get your rental license. That's if we're in Baltimore, you get your rental license, and now you're able to go and rent this house out for $2,000 a month. And your payment on this house is about $1,300, $1,400. Well, if you were able to get a rent $2,000, that is about $600 a month. That's the cash flow you initiated by not buying your home that you want to live in now. Maybe something, and you could have lived in this home if you wanted to, but this is just the option. So now you created monthly income for yourself. Go invest in the stock market, do a systematic plan, invest in the stock market. But here's the biggest beauty. The homes in the area sell for $260,000. And you just bought a property for $145,000. Think about this for a second. What if 6 months or 12 months down the road, you go back to your lender and you say, I have a rental now, which is generating income. Could I still afford to buy the house for what I was pre-approved for or more? And then you also go to the credit union, your bank, and you see about getting what they call a HELOC, a home equity line of credit on your house, and you find out they give you 80% of $260,000. And so let's do some math real quick. Let's do some math. 260, 80% minus 145. Okay, so 260 times 80%, it's 208 minus 145. So let's say that's what you owe so far, 145. If you subtract 208 from 145, that's $63,000 of a home equity line that you could actually have. Now, if you wait a little longer than maybe that year, and appreciation keeps going up, you may have $100,000 that you can put down on your new home using the HELOC, or if you decide to sell the property. So think about this now. Before, you were only working with 3.5% to buy your house. Now you've gotten yourself into a situation where, I'm not a CPA, but could have created a tax shelter for yourself for a few years. You gained some monthly income that you could have also invested in a systematic plan, which is buying more stocks every month, etc. And now you have this equity that you didn't even think about before. Houses growing the equity, and not you working your butt off to go and try to save another 50, 60, or $100,000 yourself. You've actually purchased a vehicle that could actually help do that for you. Well, how does that sound to you? Sounds like a plan to me. If getting into a deal was able to create 60 to $100,000 worth of wealth for me, and an additional 500, 600, or $1,000 a month cash flow. Something to think about if you ask me. These are the things we got to start thinking about. We gotta start being creative when times seem to be crunch time. Not always about, okay, this is how much, this is what you have, but what can you do? What you have that's not good enough for you to get what you want. What's the road you can take to try to get you to where you want to be? And sometimes it's revamping and being creative to help get you there. Another thing for home buyers in this market with the high interest rates, and for a long time, this has really been a bad word, bad or bad acronym. Adjustable rate mortgage. I'm gonna read on a little of this. Why you don't need to fear the return of adjustable rate mortgages. If you remember the housing crash back in 2008, you may recall just how popular adjustable rate mortgages, ARMs, were back then. And after years of being virtually non-existent, more people are once again using ARMs when buying a home. Let's break down why that's happening and why this isn't a cause for concern. So what they have here is a graph. And the graph shows how the percentage of adjustable rate mortgage has increased over the past few years. And what it's showing, the 3.3% average percent of ARMs the last 6 months in 2021. So this goes back to 2021, but it's showing that it's actually it's stayed around 3.3%, and somewhere in 2021 it spiked as high as 13%. As the graph conveys, after hovering around 3% of mortgages in 2021, many more homeowners turned to adjustable rate mortgage again last year. There's a simple explanation for that increase. Last year is when mortgage rates climbed dramatically. While higher borrowing costs, some homeowners decided to take out this type of loan because traditional borrowing costs were high and ARM gave them a lower rate. Why today's ARMs aren't like the ones in 2008? Oh, we got to remember, things evolve. So before saying no to something that you remember maybe was tragic, find out how it evolved. It's safer now. Put things into perspective. Let's remember these aren't like the ARMs that became popular leading up to 2008. Part of what caused the housing crash was loose lending standards. Back then, when a buyer got an ARM, Banks and lenders didn't require proof of their employment, assets, income, etc. Basically, people were getting loans that they shouldn't have been awarded. This set many homeowners up for trouble because they couldn't pay back the loans that they never had to qualify for in the first place. Think about that now. It's much tighter. If you tried to get a pre-approval here lately, or you even went through the process, you know that most of these loan officers piss you off. And they didn't piss you off because they wanted to. They piss you off because the process is much harder to get pre-approved for a loan these days. This time around, lender standards are different. Banks and lenders learned from the crash, and now they verify income, assets, employment, and more. This means today's buyers actually have to qualify for their loan and show they'll be able to repay them. Big difference from them. They were just giving loans away. You can use, they have to use income, so they can't discriminate. Just imagine somebody who maybe only had $800 a month income coming in. Banks were finding a way to get them mortgages on a home in Baltimore City. Yeah. And Baltimore City was kind of simple in a sense because the houses were so cheap. So that was doable. The Connor Pradhan, Commerce at Core Logic, explains the difference between then and now. Around, I hope I didn't mess your name up. Around 60% of adjustable rate mortgages that were originated in 2007 were low or no documentation loan. Similarly, in 2005, 29% of ARM borrowers had credit scores below 640. Currently, almost all conventional loans, including both ARMs and fixed rate mortgages, require full documentation or amortized and are made to borrowers with credit scores above 640. That word is always a little tough. In simple terms, Lloyd Goodman at Urban Institute helps drive this point home by saying, today's adjustable rate mortgages are no riskier than other mortgage products, and their lower monthly payments could increase access to home ownership for more potential buyers. So, bottom line, if you're worried about today's adjustable rate mortgages are like, if they are like the ones from the housing crash, rest assured things are different this time. So there's always, folks, I'll say it again, there's always some form, something that was created at some point, and it always evolves. It gets, we make it better somehow. So keep in mind of that as you're thinking about different things that you could actually do to help you get into a home right now. So to summarize, we talked about going away maybe from buying that dream home per se for the family and maybe stay renting for a while, but going out and buying an investment property and increasing equity and monthly cash flow by doing so. The young folks out there who maybe you're living at home with the parents right now, but maybe you were thinking about buying a home. Well, could still do it, but why not go and purchase something that somebody else can pay for? And if you can still stay at home while you do that, guess what that does? The exact same thing for the other folks. You're increasing wealth, giving you equity that you could actually go and get a HELOC on And when you're ready to buy the house, you may be able to put 60 or $100,000 down on it. It all depends on which way you go. If you decide to sell or you decide to keep it and rent it out, then you still have the residual income and you still have your new house when you're ready. If you get slick, you might get, if I could do it all over again, I've thought about this a whole lot of time. If I could do it all over again, when I left my mom's house at 18, and then I bought my house at 21, if I could have went back and lived with my mom for another 5 or 10 years, at 21, from 21 to 25, I think I ended up when I had 4 houses. If I would have went back and lived with moms and had the same mindset, I would have had at least 10. By the age of 28. Can you imagine the difference that would have been? Because see, the thing is Dave Ramsey talks about this, is that, well, no, let me take that back. Not Dave Ramsey, Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone doesn't like the fact that, he's why you want to buy a house? Well, he asked a valid question. In a sense, it's a liability, right? If you're looking at, if you wanted to get into finance, you go into finance, you put your assets and your liability. Your assets are what's paying you. Liabilities are what money is going out. So your actual home you live in is a liability. So we can't get away from that. That's just what that is. But you starting out could take somewhat Grant Cardone's advice, and now he doesn't like residential real estate that much, but if that's what you can play in, we got to start somewhere. We can't jump and go where all the gurus say jump to. We might not want to put our money into his fund or somebody else's fund who has commercial real estate. We might want to be able to touch our real estate and see what's going on and learn the business a little bit. So this something to sincerely, think about. So why you need a true expert in today's housing market? Well, if I'm giving you a wealth of knowledge now, you should see, because this is one thing that I've played on that I think I'm very good at, is I get creative out here with getting deals done. And so the housing market continues to shift and change. And the fast moving landscape like we're in right now, it's more important than ever to have a trusted real estate agent on your side. Whether you're buying your first home or selling once again, it's mission critical to work with an expert who can guide you through each unique step of the process. The reality is, not all agents operate the same way. To truly make a powerful and confident decision as you buy or sell a home, you need a real estate expert who uses their knowledge of what's really happening with home prices, housing supply, industry projections, and more to get you the best possible advice. Someone who can provide clarity and trust like that is essential to your success. Jay Thompson, real estate industry consultant, explains, housing market headlines are everywhere. Media are quite sensational, ending with explanation points or predicting impending doom for the industry. Clickbait, the centralizing of headlines and content has been an issue since the dawn of the internet, and housing news is not immune to it. Unfortunately, when information in the media isn't clear, it can generate a lot of fear and uncertainty for consumers. As Jason Lewis, co-founder of Chief Data Officer at Parcel says, in absence of trustworthy, up-to-date information, real estate decisions increasingly being driven by fear, uncertainty, and doubt. But it doesn't have to be that way. Buying a home is a big decision, and it should be one you feel confident making. You can lean on an expert to help you separate fact from fiction and get the answers you need. The right agent can assist you in figuring out what's going on at the national level and in your local area. They can debunk headlines using data you can trust. Experts have in-depth knowledge of the industry and can provide context so you know how current trends compare to the normal ebbs and flows in the housing market, historical data, and more. Then to make sure you have the full picture, an agent can tell you if your local area is following the national trend or if they're seeing something different in your market. Together, you can use all the information to make the best possible decision. After all, making a move is potentially life-changing milestone. It should be something you feel ready for and excited about. And that's where a trusted expert comes in. If you would like sound advice and trusted information about our local housing market, let's connect. I thank you for chiming in. I thank you again for sharing with someone that you think could use the news real estate news that they can use. This is Marcellus Kendall signing out once again from another Hump Day Real Estate with Kendall in the DMV. And don't forget, let's connect. See you next week.